Today, we are on a mission, and our mission is to get a special cargo to deliver in Euro Truck Simulator 2. There are a couple of mods being used in this video, but nothing that changes the gameplay. We are just using mods that change company names, gas station names, and advertisement boards, just to freshen it up a little bit. We start this off with absolutely nothing. It's a completely fresh game save. We are employed by random companies at the very beginning, doing terrible jobs that pay really little, and we are always driving random trucks as we do not have our own truck yet. And our goal in this video is to deliver a special cargo, so the basic trucks will struggle with that sort of stuff. But finding jobs for special cargo doesn't come that easy, considering we don't have our own truck. What I'm also going to try and do in this video is I'm going to try and do this without having a bad crash. But that's going to be tough because I don't play a simulator exactly how they're designed. We have turned off the speed limiter, so 100 mile an hour here we come with huge cargo on the back of the truck. And there's also going to be no fines. I've turned off the penalty system in the game because I just can't be bothered fighting the government and explaining that my dog ate my final notice to appear in court. This is a journey that's going to have a lot of rough around the edges, so I need as much good stuff on my side as possible. The police leaving me alone, the camera's not bloody beeping whenever I'm speeding. I need all that luck that I can possibly get. Also, something to note with this, there will be no gameplay sound throughout the video as I was blasting out Truckers FM at 4 in the morning, cruising down the motorway. And yes, 4 AM is a good time, as fatigue isn't a thing either, because I've also turned off that simulation. It's not really a simulator at this point, it's just playing a truck driving game for fun. But before we jump into this adventure, I would appreciate it if you could take 2 seconds to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video if you enjoy it, and make sure you turn on notifications if you want to see more content like this in the future, so that you get notified when I upload. Any suggestions for challenges and stuff are welcomed if you want to leave one in the comments, and let's get started. So, our very first job, I didn't have any choice, I just drove the cargo to its destination and that was job done. The game just chucks you in your first job immediately. And, I mean, I've turned off fatigue, I've turned off speed limits, I've turned off fines and things like that. But I will be trying to stop at traffic lights, so at least one law is going to be followed. This game does start you off with a headquarters, but you don't have any trucks, so it kind of just sits there collecting dust and growing mold until we earn enough money to buy a truck, put one in there. And yeah, the game started us off with $2,000, so that's a bonus, but the first truck's over 100. And another thing this game does is it lets you choose where you're going to start. And I chose London for my starting city, as it is the capital of England, and it makes sense seeing as I've lived around here for nearly 30 years now. But this adventure could lead us to absolutely anywhere in Europe, as I have bought most of the DLC for this game. And I guess we haven't had too bad of a start to this adventure. We successfully dropped off our first bit of cargo, and I also do plan to park every single trailer myself so that we get extra XP, as we are going to need it. There's a lot of levels and stuff in this game, and yeah, don't mind the engine occasionally turning off. It's been a while since I played and I forgot it's closed brackets for your indicators, not E on the keyboard. But then we moved on to a job we could actually choose. And there was no luck with special cargo just yet. And I also don't mind like long distance trucking jobs, but it has to be worth it. So I will be mainly picking each job based on the highest price per distance. We need a lot of money to get our own company up and running, so I thought that was a good idea. And my mum would have loved to have come along on this ride as Truckers FM started blaring out Kate Bush. If you've ever heard Running Up That Hill, it's one of my mum's favourite Kate Bush songs, and I totally wasn't sitting there head bobbing whilst the song was playing. Our cargo for this job was an 11-ton reservoir tank that needed to be dropped off in Calais. And for those of you familiar with my driving, you'll know I don't do well in most racing and driving games. So the game decided to throw me into a job that pays the highest price per distance to take this cargo to Calais, where the roads are the opposite to the UK, was not a good idea. And upon reaching Dover to get the ferry across to France, I realised in the over 80 hours I have played this game for, I do not recall ever using the ferry. It's usually the choo-choo that I jump on, and I might have got a little bit lost and got the truck onto the ferry driving down the wrong lane. I'm just very, very glad there was no other traffic. We safely made it onto the ferry. Now, arriving in Calais, being scared of what's ahead, I instantly noticed it was foggy, it was raining, And also the route off the ferry led us through a series of traffic cones, which gave me the worst of flashbacks to my truck driving test, which may have ended up with some big beefy trucks going up in flames. I honestly do not know how I'm trusted on roads. With everything happening though, the horrible weather, the right side of the road driving, and the nightmare ferry experience, the pressure was building. I felt my heart start racing, my blood pressure was rising, and then it hit me. Not some brilliant idea, but a fucking bus. I plan to have a goal in this video to not crash into anything, and I haven't even done my first proper job and I've been sideswiped by a bus that dealt 5% damage to my trailer. I mean, at the end of it, the pressure was off, so it was kind of a result, really. We did eventually, at some point, safely, as safe as you possibly can with me driving, we made it to the DHL headquarters. We dropped off the reservoir tank and not only netted ourselves $2,000 for the company, but we also hit level 1. So with that skill point, we slapped it into long distance driving and we were on our way. But now we come to the realization, our first truck is going to cost $113,000. So that's going to be a mission on its own. And if you guys do enjoy this, I'm very happy to continue playing. And we will eventually build our company up to a company that's got a small fleet of trucks. Altogether they might cost over $1 million without any other costs involved. I put out a community poll, asked you guys your favourite truck brand. You said Volvo. The Volvo FH Globetrotter XL was $225,000 a piece. I eventually want 5 of them. You also need to be level 25 to unlock them to purchase. So there's a long way ahead of us if you guys are interested. But our next job has us sticking to the UK, which is best for me. I mean, it's a really, really good thing to keep me in the UK, as I don't even really know the UK roads, let alone roads that have you driving on the other side that you're used to. And we were tasked with driving 16 tons of boric acid from London to Felixstowe for just under $3,000. And I mean, it's lovely weather, they're still absolutely chucking it down. But at this point in our journey, I don't know if it was the speed I was going or the absolute tune that was playing on Truckers FM, but I almost messed up the route, and then I ended up taking the truck for a little bit of off-roading. I mean, the tyres were cold, so I thought I'd get them a bit muddy and see if they could stick better. But after that scare, I did decide to take it careful round corners. I do not want the trailer to tip completely and leave myself stranded, out of business, and out of pocket. We eventually arrived in Felixstowe, and I think I witnessed something dodgy going around the roundabout. I don't know if it was a crash or something, but people really need to start being a little bit more careful, especially with me on the road with them. We did then make it round the corner though to our destination and parked up the truck, completing the job, earning ourselves just under $3,000 and almost 200 XP towards level 2. Then moving on to the next job, we had to drive acids around France for $5,500. We're moving up in the world already with wages like that. And while I would love to ask why so much acid is being moved around, I am on a need-to-know basis with the employers, and I don't really need to know. I'm happy to keep my kneecaps at this point in my life, thank you very much, so I will not be asking why we are shifting so much acid. We have just done a whole job without crashing, and now we're doing our highest paying job ever, so hopefully we don't mess things up this time around. After getting excited about the money we're going to be making, we made our way to the motorway, which is what I'll call it for every country, as I don't know their proper names in different countries, but we are happily at this point on our way to deliver this acid 180 miles away from where we are now. Then later in this job, we come up to our very first toll road, which I completely forgot exists. But entering the toll road went smooth until further down the road, my anxiety kicked in as I was driving right next to another truck. And I don't know if it's just me or if you guys get anxious as well when someone's driving right next to you, literally the next lane. And the anxiety starts building up because you don't know if they're paying attention or if they're going to try and change lane without any warning and cause a crash. So what I did is I had to use one of the most iconic Euro Truck Simulator 2 cheeses, and I slowly pulled over towards the truck so that I could force it to stop, so we're free from the fear for a little bit. And then finally, the skies cleared up. No more rain. We were cruising along, the rain stopped, so I had to take a second to come out of cockpit view to take in the gorgeous French scenery before we finished our job. We then safely made it to the end of the toll road, and if there's one good thing about being employed on this game, it's the fact that when you are using toll roads and stuff, the employer pays for it all. The money doesn't come out of your pocket. And coming into Palal, apologies if I completely butchered that name, I am very surprised we didn't crash, as I totally didn't have chain smokers Don't Let Me Down blaring out on Truckers FM. But then making it to the destination, dropping off the acid, we didn't just get a little over 5.5 grand towards our first truck, but we also got 450 XP, which means we have reached level 2 and we unlocked the next long distance skill, meaning that we can now do deliveries up to 341 miles, and we get a 10% higher reward for deliveries that are longer than 217 miles. And after the few jobs we've done at this point, we are sitting at a comfortable 13 grand, which means we're only 100,000 away from our very first Volvo. So I mean, it's not too much to save, is it? But that's when the big savings start, because we get that truck, we then need an upgraded garage to house all of our future trucks, we need drivers, we need cheap trucks for them to drive, but eventually over time we'll have the drivers and the trucks and they'll be earning money for us as well as us earning money. This is going to cost over €1 million to get the Volvo trucks that I want, which is not going to be easy. But we also do need to be level 25, which is going to take a long time considering we are only level 2 and the XP you need per level slowly increases with each level. But then boom, it landed. The special cargo that meant we had to drive a super wide load which weighs 55 tons. Yeah, the delivery on this one is going to be tough. Our next job was a high value cargo giving us over 4 grand to take a massive truck chassis from London to Felixstowe. And this one is over €43 per mile, so it's a big payday. Not a huge distance, a load of money. And I mean, look at this beast we have to deliver. It's that much of a special cargo, it gets its own cutscene, and we even get an attention prompt because of the escort that we are getting. And then, typical me comes into play because I didn't even make it around the first corner before crashing. And I also eventually realised I had to 2-lane this beast because it's far too wide for a single lane. The escort starts requesting lane changes. And I'm taking up both lanes, so I'm like, oh, what are you guys doing? You have to keep this cargo between the escort. You've got one in front of you, one behind you. So I have to veer over into the other lane a little bit, which is just building up the anxiety even more. But then they also do things like they speed off ahead, the escort driver out in front. They speed up ahead to warn other drivers on the motorway. And then at the end of the turn I was on, the truck starts to spin. But luckily I maintained control of it. On this job, we seem to have police round every single corner, making sure we're safe. And then we have to wait for a lane change because other drivers on the road don't have a fucking clue what they are doing. And it's either that or they just don't care about the heavy cargo that could drop onto their car, crushing it to the same effect of putting a Rubik's Cube inside a hydraulic press. Drivers are so desperate to get through, and then they just go speeding off. And I don't usually get road rage, but these drivers really pissed me off. And after the first couple of idiots on the road, I might have wanted to smash this cargo into one of them. My anxiety at this point was through the roof. Driving a cargo this risky is not fun, especially at 11 PM. It's pitch black, it's just scary. But it really does make you respect real-life truck drivers way more, that is for sure. And we did eventually make it to the destination with no more hiccups and no more wankers on the road. We netted ourselves €4,300 and 380 XP, putting us one decent job away from level 3. So I thought, for good measure, after relieving ourselves of the stress a load that wide causes, do not take that out of context, I thought we would take one extra job, and the next job had us taking 9 tons of radiators from Felixstowe to Rotterdam, because I don't want to keep taking the same jobs all the time. It might be much less money per mile, but it's a fresh driving experience, and this one doesn't require an escort. The amount of anxiety them jobs induce, it's horrible. So those jobs are going to be ones that I don't really want to take unless the money is massive. I'm willing to do a couple here and there. But the truck the employer has given us for this job absolutely shifts through those gears, which is probably helped by the lightweight cargo. It's both dangerous and a lot of fun driving at speed. Plus, scary at the same time, especially driving through the night. Then as we got further into this job, I'm pretty sure I saw the aftermath of a car crash near a petrol station, but I couldn't pay too much attention to it, as it easily could have been me. I was driving over 70 miles an hour at this point, so it could have been me in that crash. But we did get to the ferry after having quite a smooth drive for once. We get across to the Netherlands to be presented with more rain and fog. And it seems as though every time I enter a new country, they don't want me there because the weather absolutely sucks. It's either that or someone knew I was recording this video and they want me to have a bad crash, so they cursed the in-game weather. Some of these roads over here are really horrible. I started turning out of the port to almost clip the wing mirror on another truck, but not too long after, I mean quite some miles but not an incredibly long distance, we did arrive in Rotterdam, and we made our way to the drop-off point. Everything was going well until my monitor acted as though I clicked off the screen, and it showed my desktop with the game still open, leaving me to crash the truck. We were doing so well up until that point, but luckily it wasn't a major setback, and clicking on the game again sorted it out, so I carried on and I parked the trailer for another job complete. 2.5 grand secured and 170 XP, which I thought would be enough for a level up, but little did I know it left us at 5 XP away from level 3, which is so annoying considering the trouble we've been through. They could have given us a little bit of a bigger bonus to level up our long distance, but at least we know we are guaranteed to level up after the next job no matter what. And I mean, with that close, they could have just had us riding a push bike down the road to the neighbour's house to drop off some milk, and that would have earned us enough XP to level up. And on that note, special cargo secure, anxiety levels slowly coming back down without the need for any SSRIs. And I think that's a job well done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Any suggestions for future videos and feedback on this one's appreciated in the comments. Check out this video if you want to see other content on the channel. I will see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.